Today, we're diving into one of the most feared and, frankly, most heavily regulated forms of conflict out there: chemical warfare. It's a topic that carries a ton of weight, not just in history books, but in today's headlines, too. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of the chemicals themselves, let's ask a more basic question. In a world where weapons are, a reality, where do we draw the line? What is it that makes a particular weapon so horrific that pretty much the entire world agrees to outlaw it? That's really the heart of what we're talking about today. So, here's our game plan. We're going to start by defining what we're even talking about. Then, we'll look back at its pretty poisonous past. We'll break down the different types of chemical agents out there, see how we defend against them, and finally, talk about why this is still a very real threat today. Okay, first things first, what exactly is a chemical weapon? Let's get a really clear definition on the table. The definition seems pretty simple, right? Using toxic chemicals to hurt or kill people. But look closer at that last part, along with the means to deliver them. This is so important. A chemical weapon isn't just the poison itself. It's the whole package: the artillery shell, the bomb, the spray tank, the entire system designed to get that poison onto the target. So where did all this start? I mean, using poison in conflict isn't exactly new, but the industrial-scale horror of it, that's a grimly modern invention. The moment that changed everything was World War I. This was the first time humanity really saw chemical weapons unleashed on a massive, terrifying scale. It completely scarred the battlefield, of course, but it also scarred the whole idea of modern warfare. These silent, invisible clouds of gas introduced a whole new level of terror. And this timeline really tells the whole grim story. It all kicks off with the horrors of World War I. Think chlorine and mustard gas. That just sparked a deadly arms race, with countries trying to develop even more lethal stuff. But eventually, the global shock from all of this led to the modern era and the Chemical Weapons Convention, a huge international treaty designed to ban these things for good. All right, now let's get into the science of it all. What are these chemical agents, really? It's important to know that they're not all the same. They're actually sorted into categories based on how they attack the human body. So we can pretty much group them into these 5 main types. You've got nerve agents, blister agents, choking agents, and blood agents. And then there are the less lethal riot control agents. We're going to focus on the really dangerous ones here. First up, the most infamous of them all: nerve agents, like sarin and VX. These are incredibly toxic and they work scarily fast. What they do is they basically hijack your nervous system, flooding it with uncontrollable signals. This causes convulsions, paralysis, and then a total shutdown of all your body's functions. Next, you have 2 types that go after the body's surfaces and your breathing. Blister agents, like the notorious mustard gas, cause these awful, painful burns on the skin and in the eyes. Choking agents, like chlorine, do most of their damage to the lungs, literally causing people to suffocate. And then you've got blood agents, like hydrogen cyanide. Now, these are really insidious. They stop your body's cells from being able to use oxygen. So even if a person is breathing perfectly fine, their body is suffocating from the inside out, which leads to a very, very rapid shutdown. So, is there any hope if someone is exposed? Yes, but time is everything. As you can see, the treatments are super specific. For nerve agents, you need immediate shots of antidotes like atropine. For blister and choking agents, the name of the game is decontamination and getting oxygen in the lungs. And for blood agents, specific antidotes have to be administered almost instantly to even have a chance. But no matter what the agent is, this is the universal playbook. The absolute #1 thing is to get the victim out of the contaminated area. Then get their clothing off, because it can hold on to the agent, wash any exposed skin, and provide basic life support. Every single one of these steps is a matter of life and death. Okay, this brings us to a really important question. How does the world actually fight back against this stuff? Well, the response is really two-sided. You've got the practical defense on the ground, and you've got powerful international law. And you really need both of these approaches. On the individual level, it's all about physical gear: gas masks, special chemical suits, detection devices. But on the global level, it's about prohibition. That's where the Chemical Weapons Convention comes in. It's enforced by a group called the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, or OPCW. You can think of them as the world's chemical weapons watchdog. And the language in that treaty leaves zero room for doubt. Strictly prohibited. This is not a suggestion. It's one of the strongest, most widely supported bans in the history of international law. It doesn't just ban their use, it demands the complete destruction of all of them. So, if these weapons are banned, why are we still talking about them? Well, because unfortunately, this threat is far from being a thing of the past. The reality is, despite the ban, we've seen reports of them being used in modern conflicts, most famously in Syria. That sparked massive international outrage and investigations. And it really just highlights the huge ongoing challenge. How do you make sure every single country is complying? And how can you possibly verify that every last weapon has actually been destroyed? And this right here is the challenge of our time. The work of the OPCW and the rest of the international community is nowhere near done. Finding and safely destroying every hidden stockpile is an incredibly difficult job, but it is absolutely essential for global security. Which leaves us with this final, pretty sobering question. The global taboo against these weapons is strong, and it was built on the memory of unimaginable suffering. But as long as these chemical agents exist anywhere in the world, the question will always be there. Is our collective will to prevent their use strong enough to stop someone, somewhere, from using them again?